If you knew you were enough, what would your life look like? What would love look like? This is the Enough Factor broadcast, where we're redefining what makes you enough in life and in love. Now here's your host, Suzette Birnall. Hello, everybody. My name is Suzette Birnall, and I am your life coach and relationship solutionist. And welcome to the Enough Factor podcast. Each week, I endeavor to reinforce something that I already know, that you are enough, but because you don't fully know it, I want to lead you into the discovery of why you are enough. Because that's the question, isn't it? You hear, I am enough. There are t-shirts and hats and, groups that talk about enoughness. And it feels good to hear it. And you might have even joined in and felt so empowered from being a part of people that celebrate your enoughness. But if you don't know why, you can be talked out of it. If you don't know why, then you need and rely on other people to tell you what makes you enough. And I'm going to tell you, that doesn't last, especially in those romantic relationships. At least that was my experience. I'm kicking off season 4. And honestly, I had recorded other podcast episodes where I was going to just, hey, it's season 4, everybody, and it's your girl, Suzette. And I was going to really make it like a party. But I really believe that the reason why I felt compelled to make season 4 different from the others, where it's just me talking to you. No guests, no other subject matter, but really talking to you about your relationship struggles. Because we can talk about all these other aspects of relationships, relationships with your boss, relationships with your girlfriends, relationships with your children. We can talk about that. But I think very critical to your relationship with yourself is for you to figure out what makes you enough for somebody to love and treat well. And honestly, to answer those questions that just linger after failed attempts at love. So, can we really talk about that? Because that's the part of you that really usually only your girlfriends and maybe God knows. Because to the world, you're a success story. To the world, you're moving and shaking and making things happen. To the world, you're doing great work. You get promotions. You may partner. To the world, you're successful. You have the house, the car, the business. To the world, you're a success because on social media, on Instagram and Facebook and what other places that I'm too old to know that much about, you have the perfect videos. The lighting is great. The dance moves are great. And it seems like everything is going well. Oh, when there is nobody around. When it's quiet, when you don't have any work to do, when there's nothing to distract you from your pain. It's tough. And it's lonely. That's why I want you to know you aren't alone. I've been there and I know what it's like. I know what it's like to go out with girlfriends to the club, and even though somebody, though they might be a little tipsy, will come over and engage you in a conversation or ask you to dance, and it feels good for just a moment to have attention and whatever, and then to drive back home where you feel even lonelier than you did before you went. And you're wondering, well, what's wrong with me? Other people are having fun. They're looking forward to it. They're looking forward to going to the club. They're looking forward to going on girls' trips. They're looking forward to all these things that look like we're happy and we're thriving. But deep in your belly, there's just this emptiness. There's this empty feeling of longing and loneliness in your longing, because everybody looks like you got 5 heads when you say you really want a relationship. They point to all the things you got. It's like, girl, you don't need a man. He'll mess up everything you got. He'll spend your money and all that and leave you broke. Girl, you don't need no guy. You don't need no man in your life. And so you feel like you're odd, right? Your other girlfriends planning trips and saying they don't need no man and having these parties and single get-togethers on Valentine's Day weekend and excuse me, and they telling you I got Jesus and that's enough, or that the only use you have a man for is your maintenance man to come and help you have an orgasm and then he can go. Because you ain't got no use for that. Just come and service me. That's all I need you for. But you don't feel that way. You look at older people holding hands, with husband helping his wife, or the wife helping her husband, and something inside of you says, oh my God, oh, that's so sweet. I want that. Or you catch a glimpse of a man looking at a woman with such regard and respect that his eyes light up, and you see him introduce, that's my wife, that's my girl, that's my woman. And she looks so happy. He can't do enough for her. And you say to yourself, God, I want that. I want somebody's cold feet beside mine. I want a man in my life. I want to know what it feels like to be loved, to be cherished, to be adored. I want someone to love me enough to want to spend the rest of their lives with me. And I want to be happy with them. Because sometimes we don't factor that in, right? We're so busy saying we want a man to love us that many times we don't factor in that we want to really like him and love him too. We don't want to just get a man like we're filling a job description. And then once we've gotten him, it's like, oh, him. Right? You want to be excited about the person that you're with. You want to do things together and build together and be together. And so it can be very lonely. And no matter how much you try to distract yourself with work and projects and endeavors and collaborations and the newest thing on the block or the newest shiny object, no matter how much you try to distract yourself with work, that thing that you feel and you want, that loneliness inside, it just doesn't go away. And sometimes it's like a toothache. It's throbbing. And sometimes it's throbbing with such an intensity, you just feel like you're going to lose it. You're going to lose your natural mind. And so you might try to anesthetize that pain, right? By going to a dating site or opening up an account on a single site, or you might seek out a matchmaker, or you might take one of those dating questionnaires on sites that say they'll match you with your perfect person. And even if you get a match, I got a true story. It's kind of funny, but it's a true story. Excuse me for my morning, my morning voice, because it's early in the morning and I'm in my closet because I tend to allow myself to be more honest when I'm in a dark, smaller space. So excuse me, I haven't had breakfast. So I still have morning voice, so I may clear my throat a couple of times, okay? But I have a true story. It's funny now. Wasn't funny then. I will not mention the dating site I was on, but it was one where you fill out this questionnaire, right? And they were supposed to have scientific proof, algorithms, and all this type of technology that ensured you that they would match you with the perfect person for you. Now that was really exciting to me. First of all, because I like taking relationship questionnaires. I think maybe I'm the only person that I like it. I like taking questionnaires. I like doing that kind of stuff. I like the whole science behind love and other things. So, and I was excited. I took this test. It's pretty extensive, so I was really encouraged. I'm like, if they're asking all these questions, all these different areas, they're going to hook a girl. They're going to hook a girl up, really good. Took the test, submitted it. And they told you not to be nervous because it takes time. You won't have a whole bunch of people, engaging with you, sending you hellos and winks and all that kind of stuff. But it made it worth it because they were going to find that perfect person for you. And so I took the test, submitted it. It seemed like an eternity, right? But finally, they sent me notification that they had found my perfect match. I checked out his profile and I'm like, oh yeah, this is really great. And he's a brother too. Woo-hoo. Don't have anything against other races, but I'm gonna be honest, I was hoping for a brother. He was attractive, at least his picture looked like it. So we started to kind of like talk a little bit. And the more we shared, on that site, the more encouraged I was. And we made a date to meet in person. I'm all excited. I get all cute and everything. Go to the spot that we said we were going to meet at. And I wait and I wait. I think I waited for about an hour for him to show up, and he didn't. So I went back home. I was disappointed. I couldn't understand how somebody matched up with me perfectly would stand me up. But rather than to get a toot and all that, and to read him the riot act, I decided to reach out and ask him what happened. True story. He said to me he had just gotten out of jail, that he had been in jail for a while, and he was just getting out. He didn't have a car. He didn't have a job. He didn't have anything. And he was trying to get his sisters to bring him, but they wouldn't. He couldn't get a bus because he didn't have any money. And that he was so sorry. That he wanted to tell me, but he was afraid that it would turn me off. But he wanted to be honest with me. And that if I would just kind of be patient, he'd get himself together, and he promised he would show up the next time. Now, the old me would have said, you know what? I would have said to myself, you know what? At least he was honest with you. He could have lied, but he was honest. And the other part would have been like, well, you know what? Everybody who's been incarcerated haven't been there because they're guilty. He could have been holding the bag for somebody else. He could have been at the wrong place at the wrong time. And let's keep it real. A lot of the sentences of people of color are more severe. Had it been someone else, they might have just gotten a slap on the wrist and community service. But because of the color of his skin, he might have spent more time in jail than most. Now, the old me would have rationalized to myself why I should give this man a chance. After all, the dating site said he was my perfect match. After all, won't nobody else, that I was looking at in or out of the church that seemed to be appealing to me. Why not give him a chance? Now, that was the old me. But the me that at least had gained enough clarity about myself to know that I wanted a man that already had his stuff together. Because I was in my 40s. I had already been through a lot of things in my life. And I didn't want difficult. I had had difficult. I had had disappointment. I had had 2 divorces. I had had failed attempts at love. I had had the drama. I had had the waiting. for him to get his stuff together. I had been the patient person. I had been the loving person. I had been the ride or die. I had been all that before and had always come up short. My needs were not being met. I had been the suffering person, the martyr, the savior. I had been all of that. And at this time in my life, I wanted to experience some joy. I wanted to experience somebody who had the resources and was able to actually engage in dating and not start right off with problems. And whether it's right or wrong, a good Christian or not, that's just the way it was. And so I said to him, I appreciate your being honest with me, but I have to also be honest with you. I want a man in my life. I need a man in my life that already has it together. That's what I want. That's what I need. That's what I deserve. So I wish you the best. And that was the end of it. And that's the reason why I feel even more compelled in season 4 to really talk to you, to share my experiences, to share with you what it took for me to gain the clarity that I had in that moment and the clarity that I would need to gain in order for me to be ready for my Mr. Right and for me to recognize my Mr. Right. It was a journey, but it wasn't a journey of continuing the cycle of having high hopes that kept getting dashed, or trying to be the ride or die sister, trying to be the understanding woman in a man's life, only to be so lonely and frustrated because you're wondering, when is it going to be my turn? With all that I'm doing for him, why come he can't just do this one thing for me? With all the heavy lifting, all the giving, all the patience, all the praying, all the trying to be a good Christian, all of that, I keep coming up short. My needs aren't getting met. I want something different. And maybe, I'm asking too much. Maybe I am, but I can't keep right on putting myself in these situations where he's getting his needs met at my expense. Or I'm doing a lot. I'm risking a lot. I'm putting out a lot, and he's taking it and he's very happy and he tells me thank you. And he gives me a nice little kiss on the forehead. Yet I don't feel like he really gets it, that he really appreciates what I'm doing, because if he were, he'd treat me better. He'd be more attentive. He'd be less insensitive. He'd think about somebody other than himself. He wouldn't leave me feeling lonely and alone. I wanted to do season 4 with me talking to you because I feel like there are a lot of relationship gurus and experts that are giving you tips and tricks that all in about 10 minutes, but they're not talking to you about what it's like for you in the day to day, in the interactions where you think to yourself, yeah, I know you said that, but in my situation, it's different. Or, yeah, I know you said that, but my man is telling me I'm wrong. He's telling me I'm wrong. He's telling me that I'm being insecure. He's telling me that I'm being overly dramatic. He's telling me that my past relationships are creating problems for us. He's telling me that I need to get over the other men in my life that have treated me badly. He's basically making me feel like I am the problem. And I don't know. Am I? Am I asking for too much? Am I just looking for problems where there aren't any? See, these 10 to 15 minute videos can't help me with that. Going to a relationship seminar where we deal in specific topic areas and I take copious notes and I pray about it and I feel empowered when I leave. But when I go back to my life, when I go back to dating, when I go back to that man, and the things that I've learned don't seem to work or don't seem to apply. And day to day, all of my hopes and my dreams get unraveled because it's not changing anything. He doesn't love me more. He doesn't want me more. He doesn't appreciate me more. Or if we're friends with benefits, he hasn't figured out yet that I'm the woman that he needs, and he won't commit. He won't ask me to marry him. He won't make it official. When I go back to dating, I'm still dating, seeing the same old guys with the same old things and the same old tired lines. And I'm a woman of age. And I don't want to keep being text. I don't want a text relationship. I want somebody who can show up and be present. I want somebody that wants to put me first instead of giving me all the reasons why he can't. And so you live in despair until somebody writes another book. And it sounds like they're going to talk about the very thing you're dealing with. And so you look for answers in relationship books. You talk to your girlfriends. You talk to people who've been married before. You talk to your pastor. You talk to your first lady. You go to their singles and saved seminars. You go through their breakthrough conferences. You scour videos that are specific to the very thing you're struggling with because you're looking for answers. But you don't have them. And even if you have an intense argument with your man or with the man that's has your attention or your love interest, and you're regurgitating back to him what you learned and what this particular relationship expert said and what this one said. And he looking at you like you got four heads. And he goes cold and quiet. And he says, okay, if you want to believe that about me, then maybe we don't have what I thought we had. Gut punch. He makes you the problem. And because you're saying what somebody else told you, you don't know if they were right. Because after all, your situation is unique. And you'd be pissed off too if somebody came at you and said you're like everybody else. It's like, wait a minute, don't put me in there with everybody. You ain't in a relationship with everybody. You in a relationship with me. And if we ain't got trust and we ain't got this and we ain't got, I tell you, it, whatever you learn, when that doesn't hold up, then what do you do? Do you just try to suck it up? Because at least having a man is better than not having one? What do you do with the parts of you that want more and it won't go away? What do you do? Is there any help? When you pray and you ask God to help you, and it seems like he's not helping you at all. I felt like you needed somebody who really could get it, who really understood what it's like. But more importantly, that can tell you there is a way out. And not just tell you, but they're proof of it. They come back with the ring. And if you've been divorced, maybe that doesn't impress you. Because it's like, yeah, just because he put a ring on your finger, girl, don't mean it's going to be happily ever after. I hear you. Because that was me too. When you get divorced twice, hey, you're kind of pessimistic about marriage, right? And I was so pessimistic about marriage that if a guy talked about that's what he was looking for or tried to tell me that he wasn't in the marriage, I would say, listen, I am not trying to get married. So you ain't got to worry about that. I already been married twice. Been there, done that. So you ain't got to worry about that with me. But if I didn't want marriage, what was it that I really wanted? I wanted to know how it felt to be in a relationship with someone who could love me the way I wanted to be loved. I wanted to know what it felt like. And I had determined within myself that I was not going to live my entire earthly existence and my entire adult life looking for love, wanting love, and never ever experiencing it. I won't going out like that, y'all. I won't going out like that. Something inside of me stood up and said, I ain't going out like that. I am not going to have spent my life, 2 divorces, subsequent failed attempts. Seemed like I was always more into the guy than he was into me. Yep, I was that sitting by the phone girl. And I don't mind telling you, the same sitting by the phone girl in her 20s. I was in my late 40s, about to be 50, and still sitting by the phone. And even if it wasn't literally sitting by the phone, which sometimes it was literally checking the cell phone to make sure that the volume was turned up so I wouldn't miss his call. It's that situation of waiting by the phone, waiting for someone to notice, waiting for someone to care, waiting for him to make a move, waiting for him to pursue, waiting for him, waiting for him, waiting for him to get it together, waiting for him to get finished with the meeting, waiting for him to come back in town, waiting for my turn, waiting for it to be my turn, waiting for it to be that it was more important for him to call me than all these other things he had going on, waiting to be at the top of the list, waiting for him to work me in, waiting, hoping that the more we went out together, the more valuable I would become to him. And if I became more valuable, then surely I would move up toward the top of his list of things that he had to do and take care of. I was tired of being told that I needed to wait for him to take care of whatever he had to take care of first, then get to me. That was my waiting by the phone. Waiting for him to put the same energy into pursuing me, getting together with me that he did in the beginning. I wanted that feeling. I loved the attention, waiting for him to pay attention again. Yeah, but thank God that I'm not waiting anymore. I have a true partner. And we just celebrated 7 years of marriage. 7 years. 7 years of waking up every day knowing I'm loved. 7 years of him being motivated and inspired. 7 years of his joy at having found me and the privilege of spending the rest of his life with me. 7 years of him being all in. 7 years of growing together, overcoming obstacles, that have made me love him more. 7 years of this girl that was told I wanted too much, that was told that I was stuck in a fairy tale wanting a handsome prince, and that just was not going to happen. But I have gotten 7 years of not feeling like I'm married to a prince, but feeling like I'm married to a king who treats me like a queen every single day. I didn't even know that it was possible to be loved this way. Because sometimes you want it, but then you start wondering if what you want is really realistic, if it's immature. But I'm here to tell you, it is possible. But you'll never, ever, ever know until you find out what you don't know. Until you pull up your chair, the relationship school, not just a 5-minute video or a weekend conference, but that you pull up and you sit down and you let somebody tell you what they've gone through and what they learned that can help you connect the dots and arrive at your most authentic answers. So that you don't spend time second guessing yourself, trying to figure out if what relationship A over here said was right, or whether you should be listening to your man, whether it's being disloyal, whether it is your fault, not knowing who to believe. That's a terrible place to be in. Not knowing if what you're thinking is right is a terrible place to be in. And to live like that, it's a terrible, terrible way to live. And so I wanted to give you something over the next weekly episodes that will help you to start making sense out of things, that will teach you what nobody ever sat you down and taught you, which will give you the confidence to know how to approach relationships and approach things, so that you're not beating yourself up afterward or wondering afterward if it was your fault. Something that will give you the closure that you really need, so you can move on with your life and not be afraid of getting hurt and not being afraid of messing it up. If you get a good man, not being afraid of your insecurities messing things up. I want to give you what I was given and make it easier for you to get the information in me. I had to go through a lot of different resources, a lot of different, oh my God, a whole lot of different stuff. I went through so much stuff, so much agony. It was a painful journey to get these insights, but I got them. I got them, I believe, so that I could spare you all the stuff, all the agony and the second guessing and the sleepless nights and that I can spare you that. You may still have your relationship journey, but wouldn't it be easier when you're going somewhere where you've never gone before? Isn't it easier when you have a GPS that knows the way? I remember the old, before GPS and cell phones, before any of that. I remember when we would go a place we had never gone before. We'd have to rely on asking somebody how to get there, or to try to find a map that we could understand well enough to get there, to at least figure out what highways to travel, what roads to get there. And then we had to ask people that live there for help, or you calling the person in hopes that they know how to tell you how to come from where you are to where they are. That was the way it used to be. God, is so much easier with a GPS, y'all. You still have to make the journey, but it's so much easier with the GPS. And that's what I am. Season 4, I'm your GPS. Season 4, I'm your GPS. You still got to travel the road, but it's so much easier when you have a GPS that has navigated their way through and can guide you and tell you how to get there. I used to wonder why things happened to me the way they did. Why I had to go through so many different things, relationship-wise, overcome so many things, bang my head so many times, get lost over and over again, find my way back out only to get lost again. It just seemed like torture. It just seemed like God was sitting on his throne, just watching me go through this and didn't care. And I thought that if I got closer to him, if I made my spirituality the most important thing, then surely he would see what's going on with me and he'd help me. I realize now that he did. But back then, it seemed like he was getting some type of perverse pleasure from watching me suffer and yet not let me know what I was doing wrong. It seemed like he didn't care. It seemed like he wasn't listening. So the only thing he seemed to lead and guide me on was getting a job and going to church and stuff like that. But when it came to my romantic life, it seemed like he didn't care. So I started to think he wasn't as concerned about it. But he was so concerned that he didn't just want to yank me out. He wanted me to come out with the keys. To come out powerfully. So that I could help you. And oh yeah, so I could experience fantastic love every day. Oh yeah, there's that too. But also for me to help you. For me to help you. You're on my heart. You're on my heart. Am I the only person? Probably not. But for someone listening, I am your person. And I'm willing to show up for you. I'm willing to show up for you. So that's what I wanted to share. I don't know how long this recording is because like I said, I'm in the dark. But I think this needs to be the first episode to lay the foundation for what's getting ready to happen each week. So I want you to join me every Sunday morning at 8:00 a.m. sharp Eastern time. If you live in a different time zone, make the adjustment. I want you to join me. I want you to get it fresh. I want you to get it. I want you to be there. I'm going to show up, and I hope you will too. Until then, I want you to know, regardless of what you're experiencing in your relationships, whether you're married or single, somewhere in between, I want you to know that you're worthy. You're worth it. You are more than enough. Bye. You have just listened to the Enough Factor podcast with your host, Suzette Vernon. To get notified of new episodes or to dig deeper into today's topic, become a subscriber. And while you're at it, tell us how we're doing and what topics you're interested in. We appreciate your feedback and your reviews. Until next time, remember, you are worthy, you are worth it, you are enough.